Hola, my name is Enrique Morones. I'm the executive director and the founder of Border Angels, Ángeles de la Frontera. This is Dulce. She's our coordinator. She does all the work. I just eat the ice cream here.
Okay.
And here's a ladder. This is our little humble abode, this little tiny office. And this is a ladder that we found when we were out there talking to a group of ministers. So when the people go over the wall, sometimes they use these metal ladders like this. And if the wall's a little taller, they use rope ladders. So most people that are intending to cross actually make it, although sadly 2 people die every day, the intent. And one of the things that they use to cover their tracks, literally, is they put these things on the bottom of their shoes to cover the footprint. And that way the Border Patrol, when they're out there looking for them, they don't see all these footprints on the road. And we find all sorts of things out there. And one of the very sad things that we found, that I found, was this little doll. Belonged to some girl. You know, so there's a story behind that. Whether the girl made it or not, I don't know. Because in the deaths that we have every day, some of them are children. And it's really sad. And we go to a cemetery in Imperial Valley where there's more than 650 undocumented people buried. And we just went there yesterday. And here's some pictures from another day that we were out there. You see the sadness in people's faces as we're giving the talk about the people that have died. There's a guy named Buddy from Chicago, John, Imperial Valley, Roberto, Alicia from Utah. And then we do these bring attention to the issue about the people dying every day, people being deported every day, like deported veterans, like there's Hector. Veterans that have fought for this country and are deported. It's unbelievable. And then we have a big campaign about fighting hate. We work very closely with the Southern Poverty Law Center. So we started at an early age. There I am with some kindergarten kids, and here I am with President Clinton. And then we do these caravans all the time to tell people, like I had talked a little bit about the Marcha Migrante, which we did in February of 2006, February 2nd and February 28th, where we crossed the entire country, 111 cars, to tell people, let's rise up and protest. Let's, you know, we need to let people know about the deaths on the border, the deportations, the hate groups, the Minutemen, this crazy law that's being proposed, 4437. This is back in 2006. So on February 2nd, we left. And we went all the way across the country. And when we got back, the marches that took place were unbelievable. And we know it wasn't just because of us, but they took place. More than 3 million people marched. March 10th in Chicago, 400,000. March 25th in LA, 800,000. April 9th in San Diego, 100,000. Well, on those caravans, we do these vigils. And in this particular caravan, we stopped where Cesar Chavez is buried. And this is Paul Chavez. This is Cesar's son, one of his sons. And there we are talking, and then Cesar is buried there in La Paz, California. And I knew Cesar and the children. There's Cesar again on one of the marches. And we do a lot of different types of things. We just did a talk not too long ago with Palestinian and Jewish kids. They're there making the peace sign on the beach.
Nice.
And then we've been working a lot with these Central American refugee children. And our spirit is all about love. So we did a concert, Love Has No Borders. We had the San Diego Symphony on one side and the Baja California Orchestra on the other. And Demian Bichir, the actor from A Better Life, he came down and he joined us. There once again is another one of the crosses.
Are these on our side of the border, those crosses?
They're on both
or
sides.
The other? Okay.
We put them on both sides. As a matter of fact, we have a really nice cross that Elvira Arellano gave me. And we have it up on the wall as well. And this one's draped by Micaela Salcedo, who was this wonderful woman that passed away last year. And she was the coordinator for the Border Angels for a while. And then we see some of the children, some of the many children that we're helping, you know, with the Central American humanitarian crisis. There's the youngest one, he's 41 days old.
Aww.
Beautiful little boy there and his brother. And there's Fatima, 8 years old, from El Salvador. And then we're really promoting, trying to get the word out as much as possible. There's a movie that we were in called Detained in the Desert, Detenidos en el Desierto. There I am, hunched over a body. These are actors. And I think I told you that, see, this is the cemetery once again. We did a mass there a while ago, a funeral mass. And then here we are praying on the Mexican side of the wall. And here we are in an event with one of the many families that we're helping. And we do an event for Children's Day every year. And last year when we did it, there was a situation where there was a man that told me he had never hugged his daughter before. I go, what do you mean you never hugged your daughter? He goes, she's on the Mexican side, I'm on the U.S., I've never hugged her.
Wow.
She's 5 years old. Well, that day he hugged her. There's Luis hugging his daughter, Jimena. Yeah, so you see the Border Patrol agent behind him, and the mayor and the First Lady from last year, and so forth. a lot of activities. Here we are with Javier Sicilia and a caravan that we did together, and there's another one of the crosses. Pam Calore, one of her, she used to be a coordinator also. That makes these crosses, and here we are out in the desert putting water and more of the crosses.
How about over here,
Yeah, so that's Friendship Park. Friendship Park is where the United States and Mexico meet. When the United States invaded Mexico and took half the territory, there was a monument for the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which has never been fully honored. And there's the monument behind us. There we are on the U.S. side.
the one on the bottom right?
On the bottom, use that obelisk. And now that the wall is even more solid. You can't even do that anymore because the mesh is thicker.
Okay.
It's very difficult to see. But we do a lot of activities there, as you can see. We do communions and musical events, but the most important thing that happens at Friendship Park is families that, for whatever reason, like Luis and Jimena, that haven't been able to see each other, they can at least see each other. But we need to be able to have them to embrace each other, and eventually we don't want to have a wall, of course.
What's going on with this, man?
We have a communion every Sunday at 1:30. There I am, and what we're doing is we know that wall will come down. We did a big event when it was the anniversary of the Berlin Wall falling, and I mentioned that at that event that every summer more people die crossing the U.S.-Mexican border around the wall. More people die because of that wall than the entire history of the Berlin Wall.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that even.
Yeah, and
that's something that we probably should bring to light.
Absolutely.
Particularly when Mexico is our trade and ally, our trade partner.
Yeah, and the fact that these children that are coming from Central America and from Mexico, the U.S. has a lot to do with that situation. The U.S. demand for the drugs, the U.S. Using a third of the world's natural resources, being the biggest polluter in the world. And when I talk about that demand for drugs, the U.S. has 4.5% of the world's population, 315 million people, yet it consumes more than half the world's illegal drugs.
Oh, wow.
But people usually don't know that. And the thing is, they don't want to know it. And when we're seeking asylum for these children from Central America, for example, it's very rare that they would get it. Very rare. The countries that get the most asylum cases here in the U.S. are Iraq, China,
Did you know that
North
84,000 Iraqi refugees are here now?
And there wasn't a controversy about it.
Correct.
Yet there's 60,000 children, and there's a controversy about that. I was there that terrible Murrieta Tuesday, and as I had mentioned previously, the Murrieta police blocked those buses and sent them back. It was the Murrieta police, not the protesters. Okay. And it was horrible.
What's going on right here?
So here's a little girl named Natalie, and she's there at the cemetery when we do our vigils there, and she's putting one of the crosses there.
Oh, okay.
There's 650 undocumented people buried.
These aren't shoes of kids that were...
Those are shoes that we found out in the desert and so forth. And here's a book that Dulce made, and it's a celebration of the Day of the Child. So we have these beautiful pictures that were taken by Pam and Maria Teresa and Gabriela. So these are beautiful pictures of the children. Here we are having the Children's Day event.
Are they on our side or the other side?
The Friendship Park is just one park divided by a horrible wall. Okay. And then these pictures are taken on both sides of that wall. And here's an event that we do every year where we remember the people that have died crossing oceans.
Oh, wow.
Because the majority of the people that die crossing borders actually die in the ocean or rivers or seas. Because we don't think about that because we just think about the U.S.-Mexican border. But people cross from Africa into Europe and they drowned. There was the case of 300 people that capsized that were going to Italy, and you don't hear about that because you don't hear about the issue at all, and much less, these people that are dying all over the world because they're simply trying to find a better life, and to be divided up with that terrible wall. There you see how thick the mesh is and so forth, and here we are. Here's the sequence of events. There's a little girl, Jimena. Okay. Here they're opening up the door, the Border Patrol agent. So she sees her dad, and she jumps into his arms. Wow. It's just a beautiful event. We're painting the wall on the Mexican side, and there's a beautiful picture of Maria Teresa Fernandez, little girl looking sadly through the wall. And here's a couple of the children getting toys. We give them toys on the Day of the Three Kings, January 6th, as well
Rosca
as
de Reyes,
yes,
right?
as well as the on the Children's Day, April 30th, as well, right? Yes, on January 6th you get the Rosca de Reyes. And if you cut the rosca and you get the little Jesus figure,
I had that.
You have to make tamales on February 2nd. That's why Marcha Migrante starts on February 2nd, because it's the day of the Epiphany, but also because it's the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. when the United States invaded Mexico and stole half the
Well, I
territory?
got the baby this year,
Oh, you did? Okay.
so I had to do the party.
Well, you got to send us some tamales. Here's some more children here looking through the wall. And these are just beautiful pictures that were taken by these really talented photographers. And el amor no tiene fronteras. Love has no borders. And so you see the people trying to reach out and touch their loved ones on the other side of the border. And
Yeah.
we have our big campaign. We have a campaign called Operation Teddy Bear, where we're helping out all these children, showing them a little love, because a society is judged on how we treat our children.
Correct.
And in general, we have not been treating our children very well. Here's Marcus and Matthew, a couple of little boys putting crosses on the beach there on the U.S. side of Friendship Park. And so here's
Yeah. Perfect.
some border rangers. Huh? La unión hace la fuerza.
Yeah.
This was done by Dulce.
Perfect.